Good evening, West Orange, and welcome to our February 24th council meeting. Madam Clerk, would you read the opening statement, please?
This is to inform the general public that this meeting is being held in compliance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975. A notice of this meeting was mailed to the Star-Ledger and the West Orange Chronicle on December 1st, 2014. A notice of this meeting was also posted on the bulletin board in the Municipal Building, West Orange, and filed in the office of the Municipal Clerk of the Township of West Orange on December 1st, 2014. Councilman Cirillo?
Present.
Councilman Krokoviac?
Present.
Councilwoman Spango?
Present.
Councilwoman McCartney?
Present.
Council President Garino.
Present.
Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The council is now in their public meeting.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I now would like to open the meeting up to public comment. Would anyone from the audience like to make a comment or any comments to the council? Please come up and the podium and please speak into the microphone. Mr. Puglisi, good evening, sir.
Hi, Anthony Puglisi, representing County Executive Joe DiVincenzo. Just wanted to share with you some information about our annual Senior Legacies Writing Contest. This is open to all Essex County residents age 60 and older. The county executive always says it's one of his favorite events, and to be honest, I'm not brown-nosing or anything. It's one of my favorites too. And the reason is because you get a good glimpse into the diversity and the past and what really shapes our residents and how they came to Essex County. The goal of the program is for seniors to share their stories of what has influenced them in their lives, so you get a good idea of what has transpired and what brought them to Essex County and you know what makes this place what it is today. So the deadline is in March. All the information is on our website, which is essexcountynj.org. It's run through our Division of Senior Services, and I believe, I might be wrong on the year, but I think this is about the 25th year that we've been doing this. So it is a good program. We usually get about 100 or so entries a year, and it's an event that the seniors really look forward to because at the day of at the award ceremony, the stories of the winning entries are read. And to see the reaction and the emotions of the seniors who wrote them and then of the seniors who are there and who hear them, it's truly an inspiring event. So, like I said, all the information is online, and we look forward to a lot of entries from West Orange residents.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask you, how was the county executive's presentation last night on the state of the county?
Well, last night it was the State of County address. It was his 12th annual address. From my perspective, it gets better and better. I mean, the county executive always has a good story to tell. Improvements in the parks, infrastructure, social service programs are going to be drastically improved this year. So it was a nice event, well attended as well.
Thank you. I have one question for you, sir. There's a new traffic light up on Northfield Avenue right by the BP station. There's now 4 traffic lights there. Do you know of any reason why that light was installed? That
was installed with the construction of the new parking deck behind Cody Arena. The traffic circulation, you'll enter through the current entrance, and then the exit will be at 2 points. One is the current exit, which is near the new education building. The other exit is that new traffic light that you see there. And just because of the traffic on Northfield Avenue, it was determined that it would be safer to have a traffic light there. It's my understanding there all of those lights will be timed so that you won't be hitting one, then hitting the next, and hitting the next. It'll be, I don't know what the engineering term is, synchronized or a closed system so that they all work together. So,
okay. Is there a date when the parking deck will be open?
Sometime in March.
Okay. Thank you. Any of my colleagues have any questions, Mr. Puglisi?
Anthony, on the senior citizen contest, is that an email that you can send to so that we can be sure that our senior citizen director gets a copy to disseminate to our seniors? Great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you.
Anyone else wanting to address the town council? Seeing none, I close public comment, and I open the floor to my council colleagues. Councilman Cirillo.
Thank you, Council President. Two things. I do want to commend the Department of Public Works for their due diligence out there. It's been a very difficult February, and while we all sleep, they're out there. You see the trucks out there and doing a tremendous job. We're hearing great reviews about their work, and kudos to the administration as well. Mayor Parisi's out there on social media addressing a lot of the concerns of residents, so they truly deserve to be recognized for their hard work during this harsh winter, Council President. I also want to talk about the concerns of the Gregory neighborhood residents with PSE&G. I know there's been a lot of blackouts lately. Gregory School was closed today because of the heat, and I just want to let people know that not only the Gregory neighborhood, but St. Cloud and any other neighborhood that's had problems, that we're going to do our due diligence, get in touch with government affairs or PSE&G so that we can.
That's already in the works.
I'm sure we have very good communication with public PSE&G, Public Service Electric and Gas, and just rest assured that we're working hard and making sure that we're getting that attention. So just hang in there. We're almost done. March 20th is coming, first day of spring, and my birthday, so I'm looking forward to that. Thank you, Council President.
You're welcome. Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Kukoviac.
Yes, thank you, Council President. I don't have any council liaison announcements, but as we were almost doing in between the conference agenda and the public meeting agenda, there were just some follow-ups from the last council meeting that I wanted to just see if I could get a little bit more information from the administration on. The council, were expecting to have a resolution about downtown redevelopment on the agenda today. There wasn't one, and just wanted to check with administration and maybe just start to explain why they're coming, why they might be coming to the council.
The reason that they actually will be coming is they're bringing in a new investment partner, and the agreement says that in order for them to bring in an equity partner, that the township has to approve that. So they'll be coming in for our approval for that. And tonight, the reason they're not here tonight is they called and asked to postpone not coming in tonight until the next meeting, so we scheduled them for the next meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Councilman?
And just basically, if what we were told, some of the council people were briefed. I don't know if everyone was briefed, but the new entity, or the new partner, the new potential partner, a company by the name of Dune
Financial,
is planning to inject $26 million into an expanded partnership of some construction. I don't know what the actual structure is going to be, but $26 million for about, I think, two-thirds
two thirds of the first phase of the project.
at 175 Main Street.
Correct.
Okay. So we can probably expect that at the first meeting in March?
Yes.
Okay. Also, there was a question at the last council meeting having to do with Together New Jersey, and some of our neighboring municipalities were involved with it, and it appeared that we weren't. So I was just trying to find out if...
Actually, I've been doing some research on that. It's not completed yet. And I went to the website that was given to us by your wife, and actually they're doing some work right now with Hands down in the Valley area. I tried to speak to Mr. Marcy. We've been just missing each other. So I'm just trying to get a better handle on what it's about and how it has to get done. But we are looking into it, but I don't have anything real solid to report just yet.
Okay.
I can follow up on that.
Okay.
Because when Claire did bring it to our attention, I told her that we had that meeting last Tuesday at Valley Arts at Luna Stage, and it's with New Jersey Transit. So really the municipalities, as far as I know, we were not, or there was not a representation from West Orange, but there are 4 train stations that are trying to link up with New Jersey Transit, and it was with Hands, and I did the same thing. I asked the director of Valley Arts and Patrick Marcy from Hands, that director, to send me any information that they have on it. But it's all about New Jersey Transit and the train stations.
And we don't have a train station.
Highland Avenue.
Highland Avenue.
Highland Avenue, right.
Yeah, part of the issue is there's a lot of background information. I mean, that's been
That's been
put
in the
together
works
for a long time.
Right.
Right.
And there's a lot of background information that has to be put together in order to basically say, yes, you're entitled to the money. Like the grant that we just applied for Pleasant Valley Way, we gave them all the information, and unfortunately, we didn't get it. You know, there were other towns that were picked. So this is the same type of situation. I'm just not so sure what you need in order to get involved in it. That piece that your wife had given us, that was strictly an issue with Hands and New Jersey Transit, with regard to doing certain things and being able to show them certain things that you can do in order for them to give you monies for like streetscaping and things like that within that little area. So I'm doing some more research on it, but I just don't have my hand on it
It
yet.
was
so
more visionary, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
It was
it
more
is.
visionary than it was an approved plan.
Well, if I understood correctly, some of the projects that were involved with the area around Highland Avenue are actually in West Orange.
Right.
And that's why I was trying to figure out, had we ever been involved? It sounds like we've never at one point were involved in.
We've been involved with Hands,
Sure.
redeveloping that section, but we had no idea that they were going out for this other grant money. So we were never included.
And because they own that property too, would be part of, they
Yeah,
could have
well,
just
they only
put it
own
in the
a piece of
mix,
it.
right, right.
You know, like a lot of that stuff, when I was looking through it, it's already, the diner's already there. You know, like if you go through that piece by piece, a lot of the stuff was already there. So I'm not real sure how it happened. That's why I want to speak to Pat about it, but we've just been missing each other.
Okay. Yeah, because New Jersey Transit, as you pointed out, just gave over $600,000, I think, to the city of Orange and maybe to Hands. I don't know, because I don't know.
It was hard to tell
Just in
from
the
the
last week or
documents
two.
that I saw, and that's why I was trying to, actually, I tried to get in touch with somebody even from the program, and I left a message, but I haven't gotten a return call back yet.
Okay.
And
Great,
I will
thank you.
certainly share anything I get.
Yeah, thanks.
And then, as a lot of people know, there were some problems with part of the brick facade of the library, fell off several weeks ago, and we've been trying to sort of clean up and figure out next steps. And I just wanted to see what the status update might be for the cost of the emergency work, and also any projections and timetables for any additional work that we might be doing.
We have not gotten an actual number yet. The person who did the emergency work is putting all their stuff together. I can tell you, they're talking somewhere between $100,000, maybe a little bit more, for the work, for just cleaning up and pulling everything off the building. I mean, they were working 24/7 around the clock for probably 8 or 9 days to get it done, so. And the second piece is Mr. Lepore has been sitting with a couple of people. Actually, we met with someone this morning talking about what type of facade we're going to put back up there and whether we're going to go with the brick or another, some other type of facade. And some of the numbers are pretty high. I mean, you're talking probably close to $250,000 to resurface that building, depending upon what you're looking to do with it, whether you're going to brick it, you're going to stucco it, or there's other types of, things that you can put on there. And obviously, that's going to go out for bid. We're going to put specs together and put that out for bid and hopefully get the best price we can get. But those are kind of the numbers that are floating around right now. Nothing solid yet, though.
One of my questions at the last council meeting was, as we learn or as we identify and analyze what actually occurred to make it fall, it appears that perhaps there was either some faulty engineering or construction at the time. And I was just asking if we can identify who did that work and check to see if they did any other work for the town on buildings that maybe we need to review their work on.
I'll tell you what, I haven't looked into that yet. That building was done about 50 years ago from what I looked at. I'm not sure who the company was. I can follow up with Lenny on that. But even the structural engineers that we had didn't think that it was really faulty. What they said was that back then, if you look at, like I think I showed you one day, or one of you were in my office, the spikes were put in every 18 inches to 2 feet, sometimes 3 feet, where now they're saying with the weight that was on there, it should have been only 1 foot.
You said that last meeting.
Yeah, but the bottom line is that could have been the code back then versus what it is now. So what we're looking at now moving forward is to try and figure out a better way to do it. And the gentleman we spoke to today, he had some pretty good ideas on what to do with regard to putting up the new facade. But I don't know the answer to that question.
Right.
I can find out.
And I think you make my point. If that was, for me, if that was the standard 50 years ago, and it resulted in the collapse
That's why
of the
we took it
facade,
down.
we should find out if there's other work that was done 50 years
Yeah.
ago that might be potentially.
I mean, that's a design
that's the
issue, though, that's not a construction
infrastructure,
issue in
yeah.
the sense that, I mean, one of the things we are looking at, just to give you some comfort on that, is actually doing basically engaging firms to come in and look at our different buildings, to look at, see what work needs to be done, what the conditions are, the current conditions, so that if they can see anything in particular, where that might be. And part of that might be to the extent we have plans available for buildings, looking at the plans, and, that will help gauge it. So if we can't find it out through, anecdotally, through who actually designed and who actually did the construction, certainly more to the point, I think, would be when we're going to be doing these analysis of our buildings and properties, that kind of stuff will come up.
Just to go to Mr. Gross's point, the structural engineer that we had here the day it all happened, I was having a conversation with him, myself, Mr. Lepore, and there was another engineer here. He said there was no way you could have detected that happening. It'd be impossible. Unless you ripped the brick off and looked at it.
Right.
You know
No,
what I mean?
we were very fortunate, I think, as you pointed out.
You're not
There was
kidding.
only a couple of cars or a couple of vehicles that were injured, they were damaged. And there was I was talking to the library director who said there was actually a pedestrian walking there just within a minute or two of when it happened. So
2 minutes.
yeah, so I was just hoping that there isn't another situation sitting out there, if we can, okay, so maybe
If,
maybe at the next council.
If I can interject, Councilman, if you don't mind. Well, I know I asked before about any insurance coverage for the building. Do you know how much you think we would be covered to
The
offset
claim
this?
is in, the adjuster's been out here at least once already.
Okay.
Hopefully, we're going to recoup some of the money.
Because we're talking about between the cleanup of 100 and then 250 about.
It's not
Yeah,
not a small task, no
not a-
doubt about it.
Good question.
I mean,
Okay, Council-
Generally, insurance pays for damage that occurs from something like this, not necessarily the
The repair.
repair of it.
So that's general rule of thumb. They're not,
absolutely correct.
so the cars maybe,
It's not like my homeowners,
whatever.
right? It won't replace.
Yeah, it's pretty much, it is pretty much the same thing. I mean, they don't
house, they're not
really
paying it.
insure
Right.
for the integrity of a building.
No, I'm saying, but we're-
If that integrity, if it fails for whatever reasons, and then that causes some damage, the insurance usually
Okay.
pays for that.
Just a question. Okay. Councilman Kroviak, you have the... okay.
That's all. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir. Councilwoman Spango?
I don't really have anything to say, except that I would like to thank the Rotary Club for, once again, I think it was the 11th year, am I right? 11th or 12th year?
It's the 11th here.
11th year, because I've been with them since the inception with Starlight. But they put together a very well-organized, well-turned-out event. I mean, it's a great thing for West Orange. There was a lot of good food, and I would just like to thank the Rotary Club.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
And I'll let Councilwoman McCartney talk about the Edison event.
Well, then,
That's
thank you
your
goes to
baby.
you. Thank you. I really thank everyone for coming out on Sunday at the Luna Stage to see the Perfect Ganesh. It was a great performance, but it was really a benefit that we did support Luna Stage. It was a benefit for the Edison Museum. So proceeds went to the Edison Museum for their restoration and preservation of the historical items that they have here. Happen to have in front of me Luna Stage announcements for upcoming shows. I'll leave them here in the lobby here. Reflections of a Blessed Soul, Maya Angelou, and also American More, backed by popular demand, between February 27th and March 1st, Keith Hamilton Cobb, a one-man show. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you.
you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Councilwoman.
all for coming out. Wait, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Only because I see the chief here, Jack here, the mayor was just here. Let me get this.
Don't even.
The high school scholarship, Master Chef. There's a program going on Friday. The West Orange Principal Scholarship hosting the Mountaineer Master Chef. Not sure what you're going to cook up, but there are 5 teams. Mayor Priester, Fire Chief, Jack Sayers, among the administration at the Board of Ed, high school students. They're going to display their cutting-edge culinary skills to create a 3-course meal in 1 hour. The Master of Ceremonies, Principal Hayden Moore, and celebrity chef Keith Lauren, a.k.a. the King of Spice. Doors open at 6 p.m. Friday, February 27th. Tickets are $30. Please go to WOBOE, WestOrangeBoardofEd.org for more information. Sounds like a fun night.
Oh,
I got stuck with 2 guys who can't cook.
Oh, I
Who
don't.
you with?
who you?
Hey, firefighters all cook.
Before I say something.
The mayor and the chief.
Firefighters know how to cook.
Yes. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Councilwoman. Yes, I just to piggyback on to Councilwoman McCartney said about the Master Chefs. I'm on one of the teams. I don't know whose team I'm on.
I
I don't know whose team I'm on, but all I know is my wife said to me, "You can cook for them, but you can't cook at home." The other thing is I'd like to also comment our great and fantastic Public Works Department, who without them, our residents could not get to work and we could not safely, maneuver during the storms. So my thanks to the administration and mayor and to the Department of Public Works. Also, this coming Saturday at 1 o'clock at the Toby Katz Fieldhouse, there is the 2015 Recreation Department Achievement Awards, which recognizes members of our community who have given their all to rec programs, whether it's Mountaintop POW or the rec department, that's given their all to benefit the children and the young athletes of West Orange. So if you have a chance to come, it's a great event. The food is fantastic. It's $25. It's $20 to $25. I think it's $20. And just to meet the people who really keep our programs together. So I'd like to mention that. Also, just letting people know about the happenings and the workings of what's going on with the Pleasant Valley Way Traffic and Safety Commission. We're really moving along. We're meeting. We have a good group of people together who really are focused and are taking on assignments to really make Pleasant Valley Way a safer thoroughfare and to really work hard towards it. So we have a real good group together. Councilwoman McCartney is on our board. So it's really, really exciting. So that's like to bring up. So, we'll keep you up to date what's going on. Some good things should be coming out of it. We have people working on the concept with Complete Streets, how our current planning board, Complete Streets, will work with it. And Mr. Lepore and a number of the other administration went to a Complete Streets seminar on the 18th, so we're waiting to hear back from Mr. Lepore. So again, great things are happening, and please, we'll keep you up to date what's going on. And always reach out, send us emails, and we'll answer your questions. So that's about it.
Great.
Okay. Madam Clerk?
Okay. Consent agenda, approval of previous meeting minutes, public meeting February 10th, 2015.
Consent?
Report of township officers, municipal judges report for January 2015.
Consent.
Reading of petitions and communications and bids, none. Bills, are there any questions on the bills?
Consent.
Resolutions, are any resolutions being pulled this evening?
Councilman Cirillo?
No.
Councilman Kukoviac?
Yes, thank you. Could I please pull agenda item A, Resolution 5915, resolution authorizing the appointment of Alicia Skinner as the township's grant writer. Also, agenda item C, Resolution 64-15, resolution authorizing a contract with Goose Control Technologies. And I just wanted to ask a quick question. It's just procedural. We have 2 resolutions on here for related to borrowing, and we also have a couple of ordinances related to the same actions, and I'm just wondering how we plan to address those, because I know we have to do them in a certain way.
Actually, the resolutions, if your resolutions L and M are not related to the ordinances. These are The L and M have to do with ordinances that were passed last year, and there's a follow-up that's required, these resolutions follow up.
Okay.
Can you elaborate, John?
On as a part of, these are resolutions pursuant to funding that we obtained through New Jersey Environmental Insurance Infrastructure Trust, which is very advantageous financing for us. And they're going through the final stages, and they need, in order for them to do their closing documents, they need certain resolutions from the township. So it's really pretty much housekeeping. We've already done all of our authorizations, it's just the
All right, so please forgive me, I was mistaken in that. Maybe you could just tell us a little bit about the borrowing related to agenda items L and M, just what are the improvements at joint meeting, and, you know, this is a follow-on to last year.
As I'm sure you all recall, back at the end of last year, council passed a bond ordinance for $1.3 million for basically capital projects that are ongoing at the joint meeting, who collect and process sewage, raw sewage for the township. And as part of our membership, we have a certain percentage of all their capital improvements that we have to make, we have to participate in. Sometimes these are general improvements that everyone's contributing to. There will be times, and there have been times in the past, where there are improvements made on a specific line or area where only a few municipalities or a few members would participate. This is not one of them. This is overall.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gross.
So we're borrowing $1.3 million if we approve this year related to that.
We've already authorized
borrowed.
that. This is pretty much a paper transaction for us. The funds don't come, even though we passed a bond ordinance, we don't actually go out and get the money, and we don't distribute it. It's all done through the infrastructure trust. They take care of that. Number one, most of the monies they have already, so it's already funded, and so the joint meeting will receive money from the infrastructure trust, which we will repay.
But it's not new. We had already discussed this
Yes.
previously. Thank you.
It's not new. Yes, it's not new.
That's all.
Okay, Councilwoman Spango?
I just have a question for Mr. Gross. Just a question on Resolution 7215. This is in reference to at our last meeting when we rejected the bid for the...
That's correct.
This is the
That's
same,
correct.
what we're talking about?
This is an award through a Houston Galveston co-op. It's a national-based co-op where we've saved at least $40,000, perhaps.
So the administration is much more comfortable with this than what we pulled out last?
It is two things. It is, number one, it's within our budget. The
Okay.
other was not. So we're definitely comfortable about that. And it's actually was a bit below our budget, and
So
we're
talking
very
about
comfortable with that.
It's
So-
the same thing.
right.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask, I'd like to ask a question on the same resolution, 7215. I'd like to ask it to our fire chief, if it's possible.
He wants to ask what you're cooking.
He wants to ask you, what are you
First
cooking?
and foremost, I'm sorry that you're going to come in second place, Councilman.
Do we have to vote on this tonight?
Second of all, firehouse rules, when the chef cooks, everybody else cleans, so Jack gets to do the pots.
That's why he's
So,
invited.
anyhow,
Chief, thank you very much. Chief, I read the specs, I went through the whole thing. I got to commend you on how you put this together. My only question is, I see a lot of, eliminating items, certain specs, you don't need certain items on the truck. I just want to know, when this thing is all set and delivered and everything else, will this totally fit the purpose of the Township of West Orange?
well, that was the intent of it. We did our research with several of our team members, staff members. Deputy Chief Kingston pretty much is hot and heavy on this. He's the one who helped build this. We got to give him most of the credit for this particular apparatus. We've met it so it meets the specs for the topography of the town. That's our biggest concern. As you know, we always spend more money on transmissions, engines, and rears for vehicles because of just the topography and the terrain that we have to deal with. That was part of it. But also, we look at this truck as part of the technology that's available now that takes us into the future. Things that are going to be on there is like air systems, air supply systems, so that we can use not only breathable air for our firefighters to refill their their air tanks, but also use the same air system to use pneumatic tools in the event for extrications and things of that nature. So we're trying to make it more of a multi-purpose, a multi-function truck. The purpose of a truck is basically that, we need it for aerial purposes and carrying a lot of ladders and equipment. It's a virtual toolbox on wheels. That's what it comes down to.
I just want to, if I was reading it right, there's no water tank on it at all? There'd be...
No, this is just strictly a 100-foot aerial ladder with a pre-piped system on it, so that if we have to go into defensive operation, that we can deploy this fairly quick and get the water to the fire as quick as we can from a defensive operation, which means basically we're trying to stop it from spreading somewhere else, as opposed to an offensive interior attack.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Thank you. I was very excited. I looked through it, and it was a very well put together proposal.
Good job.
So it was a very good job, and our thanks to Chief Kingston, and I hope he's doing well also.
Yeah, everybody's doing well in the project, and we're looking forward to it. So I'm going to give an early thank you for hopefully this is a passed resolution. So thank you very much. So, all right, thanks. Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Thank you, Chief. And we'll see who comes in second.
Oh, the challenge.
Councilwoman McCartney?
I don't have any resolutions to pull, but I would like to say that, or let families be aware that one of the resolutions in our package this evening is to accept the Juvenile Justice Grant, and this will help support the West Orange Junior Police Academy, which is really a great program. Right off the page here, it says the Junior Police Academy is structured so that children obtain an understanding of the law and experience an age-appropriate pseudo-police academy where they take an interactive law enforcement program, conflict resolution sessions, and self-esteem building activities. It's worthwhile, so I would tell parents to be on the lookout for the dates of when that materializes. Thank you.
If I just may add one thing too. Chief, did you get I forwarded you an email from Congressman Frelinghuysen's office today. So they would like to help us with those FEMA denials, so I just want to make sure. Okay, good. Thank you. Yes, sir. Yes, Councilman.
Council President, on that same note on the fire truck, I do want to commend you guys because your initial estimate was $805,000. The bids came in at $871,000, and now you were able to find a cooperative purchasing agency, that lowered that price to $773,000. So thank you for being proactive, and Ann for doing her due diligence, and the chief, of course. Because I brought that issue up at the last meeting, asking why they were being rejected. So good work. People should know that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Yes, my compliments to the administration and the chief. Thank you.
Chief did all the work. He did.
He's not going to let you win.
I'm on his team. I either win with him or I lose with him. It doesn't matter.
Is there a motion to?
You must need him.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Is there a second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The consent agenda is implemented.
Okay. Councilman, Resolution 59-15?
Yes, thank you, Council President. This is a resolution to hire a vendor who is currently our grant writer, the township's grant writer, for another year for $28,000. And I pulled this because it appears that the number and the amount of the grants and the type of grants that she was involved with obtaining in 2014 do not appear to meet the requirements of the contract. And I did not have time, I guess, before the meeting. I was going back and forth with Mr. Gross about this, and I just wanted to find out if, in fact, she did perform under the contract, and whether we should be paying her going forward.
We took a look at the contract and we parsed it and in terms of the verbiage, and that there is definitely an intention within the contract that the grant writer to provide unique and new grants every year, grants that are different than or from different sources than in the previous 5 years. When we looked at that in the question, we looked at what she actually accomplished last year. One of the grants that she got, that she wrote and the township was awarded, was through the Open Space Fund, the $150,000. Councilman Kukovic rightly points out that in 2009, the township did receive a grant from the Open Space Fund for the signage up at OSPAC, roughly around $48,000 and change. If you take a look at the contract, and the intention is, when I read it, is that the grant writer is not to be rewarded for getting the same grants year after year after year that we normally get, almost like entitlement grants that go out on a competitive basis and getting new grants. The terminology does speak to sources, so it could be interpreted that since they were both from the Open Space Fund, even though they're separate, completely different applications, and they're both completely competitive, one might take the interpretation that disqualified it. But I would not take that interpretation. In addition to that, there's subsequent language that says that if the consultant does not attain that goal, does not get enough new grants in an amount above what was previously received from the township, that they would perform services for free until such time as they did. If you take a look at it, and the fact that we were talking about a $48,000 grant from 2009, now this was $150,000. Clearly, that's much higher grant. Even if it was the same source, you're talking about a substantial 3 times as much. So I think that it certainly meets the intention of the contract, and if my interpretation, even parsing it, I think that she has met the goals of the contract for last year. So I would suggest that this be adopted.
Can I just add something to that?
Sure, Mr. Gross. Mr. Sayers.
I had a conversation with Mr. Kaiser before the meeting. Personally, this is my personal opinion, and Mr. Kaiser can speak for himself. I think the language is a little convoluted, and I'll explain to you why I think that. Because when you look at the word resource, it would be almost like every year we apply for a SAFER grant. Now, a SAFER grant, so the argument could be that if you got a SAFER grant over the last 5 years and you didn't get, you got one in 2014, that shouldn't count. We don't look at it that way. What that was intended to be was exactly what you spoke about. For instance, the police academy. We apply for that grant every year. We get it from the same place, and it's for the same thing. Where when you apply for a SAFER grant, for argument's sake, you can get it for equipment, you can get it for, you can get it for firefighter equipment, you can get it for trucks, you can get it basically for employees, for more bodies. So I don't believe that really applies to this. I talked to Mr. Kaiser, and I think we need to change that one word, which says resource, because as the councilman pointed out, I think correctly, a resource is the same place. So if it's coming from open space, or if it's coming from the SAFER grant, or it's coming from anywhere else, doesn't matter that you're getting new things every year. It's still coming from the same place. But that was not the intent of any of this, I can tell you that. The intent was that, as Susan brought up, Councilwoman McCartney, I'm sorry, as Councilwoman brought up, the intent was, for instance, a good example is the Junior Police Academy. We get that grant every year. It comes from the same place, so that shouldn't count. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I don't know if I can explain that any better but that's what we believe the intent is.
If I may, Councilman Corley, if I may, just, if you're going to change the language, do we need to take this off and then?
No, you can.
No, we can
Amend.
pass it, and then what we
As
would do
amended.
is
Amended.
we would just, I mean, Mr. Kaiser can speak more on that. I'm not so sure. I just think that one word has to come out here, because that was definitely never the intent of what we wanted. The intent was that if there is, you can't just keep getting the same grant from the same place every year.
Right.
If I thought it involved changing one word, I'd change it right now. I think it involves a little more than that, because I mean, to me, this paragraph is not a model of clarity and deserves some more changes. I think the intent, and I think the wording I probably would use, is that the intention is not to count repeating or recurring grants. And if you get a $1,000 grant every year for 5 years, that's one grant. Basically, it's not, shouldn't count each year.
Right.
but it has to be for the same thing. That was the intent. That's what I'm saying. Because you can go open, for instance, an open space grant. Some years they're available, some years they're not. So I'll bet you over the last 5 years, if I look back, there were probably 2 years in between there that you couldn't even apply for an open space grant because there was no money.
Funds to do it.
So it's about applying for the same program through the same source for the same amount of money.
Okay, Councilwoman?
That was the intent.
One of the concerns I have about delaying an awarding of a contract this evening is that we're now going to be pushed into our third month, and while we have a vendor professional who has been continued to work, I'm hesitant to ask that person to work for even a third month now without being paid. So, I mean, if we are going to push it off, I would like the council to know that since the person has been working and has been submitting grants, that we will move forward and pay her on a monthly basis for the months that she has worked until such time as there's a contract on a basis of a holdover. So, if it is pushed off tonight, I just wanted to make sure everybody that was aware of that, so that when it shows up on the bills list in 2 weeks, that you know that.
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
Just to that same point, the same thing with Sustainable Jersey. We just only at our last meeting submitted the grant for Sustainable Jersey. Each year, that is the resource, but you still have to submit a budget along with that grant, the projected budget, on what it is you're going to use the funds for. So it may only be $3,000. It could be 10. We were awarded $10,000. This year, we're asking for another $10,000, but the project is always different.
Right.
So the resource is the same, but the project is always different, and the projected
That was never
budget.
the intent. The intent was, that, like I said, and a perfect example I use is the...
Well, but I just wanted to say also with the Pleasant Valley Way.
Right.
That was new. I had never seen that before and submitted the application for the acronym, I can't remember, CP something.
Yeah,
The Historic Preservation Grant that we recently had for $24,000. In my term, I've never seen the Historic Preservation Commission come up with a $24,000 grant. And also on our agenda just last month, a couple of weeks ago, we had the Forestry Management Grant. We don't always get that. So I think there are new things out there. I think funding is very scarce. That is out there, and just from my experience working with Alicia on grants, I know that she has a network of other resources.
I just, like I said, the focus I think we need to keep is the intent always was that there are grants that we get every year,
Mm-hmm.
and they're the same grants for the same projects.
Right.
The intent was that those grants don't count as to what it's going to cost for us to pay. Like I said, a safer grant is a perfect example. You can get a safer grant for anything. So every year, it's not like you're getting the safer grant for a fireman's helmet, or 10 fireman's helmets.
Right.
You get the same grant every year to buy 10 fireman's helmets. That's different than when you're applying for a safer grant to get, fireman's equipment this year, you're getting a truck next year, you're getting new you're getting 10 new firemen the year after.
Different things, yeah.
Yeah,
It's a different.
It's different things.
Grants that are truly competitive.
Right. And new.
Well, whether they're new or not, I mean, if they're competitive, if they're not competitive, then they're entitlements, even if they're not
Right.
officially. If you get the same grant year after year after year, it's an entitlement grant. You're going to get that, and most of the time, the application is almost a copy of the previous year's application. But in a competitive grant, where you going head to head against other communities or other entities, where there's a unique application that has to be written every time, that's what should be included in this, I think, in my opinion.
And we're going to look at that right now with Pleasant Valley. We have a meeting tomorrow night. We're looking at the New Jersey Department of Transit, transportation for the Safe Routes to School grant. So, again, we don't always get that, but that's one of those competitive grids.
So, Councilman, if I could just, what your answer to your question, if I could ask part of that, you were saying how you may feel that what we're paying the grant writer, and we're not getting the type of grants back to justify what we're paying her. Am I understanding that correctly?
Well, I'm saying that it does not appear that she is in compliance with the requirements of the contract.
Okay.
And just to read a portion of the contract, these are bullet points about the performance there. It says, obtaining, quote, new grants, end quote, of at least the amount paid to Ms. Skinner during the term of this agreement. It's $28,000 a year. It says, "New grants shall mean monies and/or aid not previously received by the township from particular sources during the prior 5 years." Ms. Skinner agrees that she will continue to provide services beyond the term of this agreement at no cost until new grants exceeding the amount received are awarded. So I think the intent of that was to make sure, I think as we're talking, you don't want to just coast on grants that come about with very little work, without any competition. There were 3 grants last year. One was the Juvenile Justice Grant for $18,563. We get that every year. Another one was $224,000 grant from the New Jersey Department of Transportation. We get those grants every year. This is for street work. And then the last one was an open space local aid grant for $150,000.
Which are extremely competitive, by the way. Those, the county grants are. Those
Yeah,
are they're absolutely, I mean, it's more than a dog and pony show. You have to go and you have to submit, and you are competing against other municipalities, and they do not award to every municipality that applies.
And the Department of Transportation
I'm not sure that
either.
that's actually what happened this year. I think the county did was it told all the municipalities that it had money available for them, and they would entertain the grant. So obviously, if you didn't file a grant, you wouldn't get any. But in this case,
But you definitely, the county's process always to involve, they have money for you to
Yes.
put projects in, but it is still competitive in terms of what you're going to get. In other words, it's not an amount per capita. And if they're not happy with the project that you picked, if it's not that meets within what they would like to see, they've turned people down. And I've been on the bad side of that at one time in my career. So I do know that's a fact.
I'll be honest with you, too. I don't even think the New Jersey Transit grants should fit into that either, because that amount is never the same
never
every
the
year.
same, right.
And again, we could put in 10 streets and ask for $500,000 and only get $225,000. Or we put in 5 streets and ask for X and we get Y. So all I'm telling you is the intent was the recurring grants, like the Police Academy grant. And there's other grants that we get every year that are the same way. And that was the intent behind the whole thing. And my whole issue, and when you brought it up, and John brought it to my attention today, and I read it, and I saw the word resource, I think that's a terrible word. That word should not be in there. Because there's only certain resources you can get grants from. And they don't change. Like open space, you get the Environmental Trust Fund, you can get grants from. Safer grants, you can get grants from. New Jersey Department of Transportation, you get grants from. So the sources never change. The idea was, if it's a recurring grant that we apply for and we get every year and it's automatic, that doesn't apply.
That's not included, right?
That's what the whole objective and
Right.
intent was behind
And I
it.
just made the point that she did look for other grants out there.
Plus,
And
she has
continues to
one-
do that.
She still has one pending for 214. It's over $900,000 that hopefully we're going to get.
That's well above her salary.
Right.
So, and even if
Right.
my argument is, and again, I'm not trying to get argumentative about this, but even if you look at it and say, okay, it was the same type of grant, she still got more money than the grant was 5 years ago, which covered her salary and everything else. Because the other grant was only, I think, $48,000 for the summer. And I think she got $150,000 this year. So if you take the $48,000 out, she got a $102,000 grant. Her salary is only $24,000.
obviously there are many different ways that you can word a contract to achieve your goals. And I think we're all agreed the goal here is to not have this grant writer just coasting along, not working hard for us and not working for our benefit. And one of the ways that we have measured that was through this contract. It hasn't changed. I don't think the wording has changed iota since I've been on the council. And we've come to this situation where if you think we should be measuring it a different way, I'm all in favor of that. But we're talking about a contract that is long past due, the performance is long past due. And I just feel like if you don't like the contract, well, let's change it, but let's not change it in midstream.
Do you have a suggestion? Do you have a word in here that you want to change or what you
No,
want to change?
I don't
Because
think, I don't think it's just a word that's the problem. And I don't, you keep saying resource, I don't know whether you mean source, because that's in that bullet point.
right. Yeah, that's what I mean,
Okay, I just want to make sure, because I didn't,
source.
thought maybe I was missing
No.
a word different in the contract.
No, it's the source.
But to me, but to me, it's clear enough, it's something that we've been using for years, and unfortunately, for whatever reason this year, the 3 grants that were obtained are recurring, and to my reading of it, are all not covered by the minimum that she has. So I just wanted to raise that.
Disagree.
And if it sounds like there's a fairly strong feeling around this table that we're not wording the contract and we perhaps don't have the correct metrics, whatever, I'm fine with either putting this aside and coming up with a new contract going forward. This 2014 is done, and I'm not sure we can change that. But I'm just saying, this is what we have in front of us, and this is what's been going on for years, and unfortunately, I don't think she's met the bogey, but I'm not going to belabor the point.
How does $150,000 not, I don't understand your point.
Okay, the point is
I
that...
just listed 3 that were not recurring, that would exceed her salary. The $150,000 open space fluctuates. You never know what that amount's going to be. So I really don't understand what you're saying, that she hasn't met her mark, because the 3 that I just mentioned exceed her salary.
Okay, I don't know the ones you're talking about that aren't in the report. We're supposed to be using the report to go over this. There's only 3 grants that are listed
These
for
were just-
2014. I don't know what those other grants are. I don't know whether they can even apply here. I'm just saying, to me, it's pretty clear. It says from particular sources. The grants have to be from, they can't be from particular sources over the past 5 years. And what we've got here is two grants that we get every year, and from the same source. And the third one is something that we had gotten from 5 years ago. So it just seems the language that we've been using for the last, I don't know how many years, excludes that.
Councilman, let me just ask you one question. Let's take, for argument's sake, the SAFER grant. Would you take the same position if last year we got equipment for $40,000 from the SAFER grant, and then this year we got a truck for $900,000? Would you take the same position?
Under this contract, it says from a particular source.
I would not. That's
Okay.
our difference.
Then that's fine. I mean, if you want to change the wording of it, that's fine. But it's been there for years, and I always thought it was a good contract because it gave the grant writer an incentive to find new sources. So I always thought that was a really good idea. But for some reason,
My position is that was never the intent. I explained what I believe the intent was, and the intent that we had with the grant writers even before her, and the bottom line was, we didn't want you to come back to us every year and just keep filing the same grants that we get every year and not show us anything different. And that was really the intent, although I didn't put this language together.
For particular purposes,
Well-
as opposed to sources.
Well, it says monies and/or aid not previously received by the township from particular sources, not from the same source. And I'm not sure, I mean, that would be a different, or lend itself to a different interpretation. The language just is not very clear here, and so the language ought to be as consistent with the intent agreed upon between the parties. That's the touchstone of contracts, so.
so I don't have any
Well,
further.
what about the sentence you just said about you're calling them entitlements? Is there a sentence that can be inserted that those are excluded?
I don't think we should be redrafting a contract in the middle of a council meeting. I think somebody ought to be talking to Ms. Skinner and amongst ourselves and come up with language that everybody is satisfied with and that works.
Does the next sentence satisfy? What about the next sentence? Agrees that she will continue to provide services beyond the term of this agreement. That to me, I would interpret that as just what she's doing, looking for new resources that potential grants.
Well, let's look at that. Let's just look at that sentence for a second. Okay,
My solution would be, is actually not my solution, Mr. Gross's solution, is we have her as a holdover, and we rewrite the contract and present it to you at the next meeting with the new language.
Okay.
I think that's very
Makes
simple,
sense.
And we'll compensate her.
as long as we keep her as a holdover, that's all.
Okay.
I mean, and we'll change, we'll
And
work
just
with
fix
her
that
to
language
change the
in that.
Right, the
language.
language.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Ken, do I call for a motion to do that?
Motion to.
Table.
To table or
Table,
hold over?
right.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So-
I didn't mean to
Yeah,
interrupt
you can call for a motion to do that, that's
Okay.
fine.
Okay.
So we have a motion to table this
It needs 4 votes.
resolution to, for a rewrite and present it at our next council meeting,
March 10.
March 10th. Right.
Right. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Councilman Cirillo?
Yes.
Councilman Kukoviac?
Yes.
Councilwoman Spango?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCartney?
Yes.
Council President Garino.
Yes.
And then,
Resolution, I'm sorry,
that's okay.
Resolution 64-15.
Councilman Kukoviac.
Yes, thank you, Council President. This is an annual resolution that we have to hire a vendor to provide control of resident geese population in 3 different areas of the township. Several of the municipalities around us do this as a purely volunteer operation. I've actually been involved with the volunteers and confident that we can do this and we don't have to spend the money. So I just pull it because I don't think we should be spending the money. And I did ask the question this year, and I asked how many eggs were addled, which is how you control the goose population under ASPCA guidelines. You addle the eggs and they don't actually hatch. And I asked how many eggs were addled last year. There were 13 eggs addled. And then I asked about the resident goose population, because I think that's an important metric for us to know about whether we're actually making any progress. And the email that I got from the administration said that we don't know what the population is. So I would like to just ask if we can work this into future contracts to say the vendor has to provide us with a census of the resident geese at these 3 locations so that we can judge whether it's working or not. Because one of the problems with having a program like this where you identify the locations and don't go off to adjacent property is that the geese don't know where the property lines are, and they can very easily go just 10 feet away and produce the egg. So
We could certainly find out how much that would cost. You know,
Yeah.
to include that in a future contract.
yeah, just to provide a census. They're there doing the eggs, and I know when we were doing the volunteer work, we counted the resident geese because it's a key metric. I'd like to work that into the future contracts. I don't want to hold back the contract now. I'm not going to vote for the contract, but I do ask that going forward that we provide a census so we can figure out whether this is working or not, whether we're getting good
Just
use
2
from it.
things.
Yes, Mr. Sayers.
One thing I can tell you is I was heavily involved in this when this first started, myself and Mr. Fondino, and we talked to people in the state and everything else. First of all, I don't know how you identify resident geese versus a regular geese. I don't think you can do that. I don't think anybody knows whether it's a resident geese or it's a regular goose, or I should say a resident goose or a regular goose. From what I know about this, and I'm no expert in this field, don't get me wrong, but I don't know if you can figure out who's a resident goose and who's not, number one. And number two, you're right when you asked us that question last year, but the way that we evaluate it is, and I can tell you, when we first started this program, it was a mess, and every person in that neighborhood was knocking on the mayor's door every other week saying, you gotta get these things out of here. And I can tell you that since we started this program and this program has gone forward, we have gotten no complaints from anyone in that area regarding the geese in that park. So our guess is that the program is working and people are happy with it. But if there is a way for us to identify resident geese and get some census, we'll definitely do that. I'm just not so sure you can do that,
Thank you, Mr. Sayers.
that's all.
Yeah, you can early in the season, it's pretty easy because the geese that are there are almost certainly resident geese. Later on in the season, as the geese start traveling and stopping temporarily, you're right, then you get mixture with between the residents and the migrating. But early on in the season is a good time to take the census.
We'll check it out.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
That's all I have.
Okay.
Is there a motion to adopt resolution?
Madam
I'm
Clerk, I just forgot something I'd like to mention now. I'd like to, if I can show on the record, I'd like to recuse myself from 62-15.
It's already been approved on consent.
Okay.
It's already been voted on.
I know, all right,
Yeah. So I can't do that.
sorry.
Okay, is there a motion to adopt Resolution 64-15?
Motion moved?
Second.
Councilman Cirillo?
Yes.
Councilman Kukoviac?
No.
Councilwoman Spango?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCartney? Council President Garino.
Yes.
Okay. Ordinances on second and final reading, ordinance 2440-15, refunding bond ordinance providing for the refunding of emergency appropriations related to payment of amounts owing to others for taxes levied in and by the Township of West Orange, appropriating $2,284,702, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $2,284,702 bonds or notes of the township for financing the cost thereof. Is there a motion to introduce on second and final reading?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Cirillo?
Yes.
Councilman Kukoviac?
Yes.
Councilwoman Spango?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCartney?
Yes.
Council President Garino.
Yes. Is
God
there any-
bless.
Bless you. Is there anyone who wishes to be heard on this ordinance from the general public? Seeing none, I close public comment on this ordinance. My colleagues make any comments? Councilman Kukoviac?
If I could, just a brief explanation from the administration about, these are all to compensate for successful tax appeals. But beyond that, if you can talk about anything else relevant to the
This is this ordinance funds successful tax appeals from the years 2013 and prior, to be financed over a 3-year period, beginning in 2016.
Okay.
Would you happen to know off the top of your head, I know we've talked about that there are significant expectations that successful tax appeals this year will be less than the previous couple of years. Is that still your expectation here in late February? I know it's still not even...
Tax appeals filed for the year 2015 will be we project will be significantly less than tax appeals from 2014. Tax appeals 2014 were also significantly less than 2013. However, having said that, the aggregate amount of when we settle, going back to now, I think our oldest tax appeals now are 2010. So, when you start adding up, you have tax appeals that go 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14. And they're settled in 2015. The amounts may be similar to what we're looking at now in terms of the aggregate, but the actual erosion of our assessed value, which is really the key to this moving forward, that erosion is dwindling. And in fact, for the most part, we're either going to be very close to even, or maybe just a shy down this year, because of these types of tax appeals, the long-term ones, not because of the current tax appeal. So I think our future on that is very positive.
Okay. So we did a little bit under $2.3 million last year.
That's
Right,
correct.
we're
The year
now
before was 3.35.
Okay.
We do expect that, probably over the next couple of years of these old tax appeals, we'll probably still be somewhere in the area of $2.5 to $3 million a year for the next couple of years. But one of the things that we have done with the tax, and one of the reasons we were up in terms of our assessment, we were down a little bit because we asked the assessor to stop the bleeding on some of these outstanding appeals and lower their assessments, so that while we may take us a year or two to settle those appeals, we won't be adding the years 2016 and 2015 and 2016 to that pie. And so that we think that will be helpful for us as well, so that we won't see this escalating, and eventually it will drop off.
And it will sooner rather than later also allow us to stop having to make the total payments in the first year of the appeals that are granted, correct? if the reduction is made in 2016,
We won't
only
have
have to do
any
our
any
portion.
appeals
We
that
won't
they.
have to do 100% of it.
It won't be for a 2015 appeal. You know, we'll be coming back to you, and you won't be seeing that. Because if you've looked at them, you notice that if somebody appeals in 2010 and it's settled in 2014, you see 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014. We're going to be dropping those out years off now. So whatever, even if it takes us a few years to settle, we're not going to be, like I said, we're going to stop the bleeding.
Yes. I think that's a wise move. Thank you.
Any other comments from my colleagues?
Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 2440-15?
Second.
Councilman Cirillo?
Yes.
Councilman Krokoviac?
Yes.
Councilwoman Spango?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCartney?
Yes.
Council President Garino.
Yes.
Ordinance 2441-15, refunding bond ordinance providing for the refunding of emergency appropriations related to the severance liabilities from the layoff or retirement of employees in and by the Township of West Orange, appropriating $1 million therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $1 million bonds or notes of the township for financing cost thereof. Is there a motion to introduce on second and final reading?
Second?
Councilman Cirillo?
Yes.
Councilman Krokoviac?
Yes.
Councilwoman Spango?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCartney?
Yes.
Council President Garino.
Yes. Is there anyone in the public wishing to be heard on this ordinance? 2441-15? Seeing none, I close public comment. Any member of the council wishing to be heard on this ordinance?
If I could, this is to borrow up to $1 million to pay for retirements of employees. And I think maybe if we could just, again, a little bit of explanation of if we need $1 million, how many retirements are those, and does that cover? Do we still have the expectation that some people say they're considering it, but don't go through with the retirement in the year, so that we don't have to borrow so much? Just
Last year, and this is to fund mostly last year's obligation, and that, if you remember, in our December meeting, council passed an emergency appropriation for $1 million to fund it in 2014. We went to the local finance board for approval earlier this month, and were approved. And so this will be financing the 2014 severance liabilities. Last year, we spent approximately a little over $800,000. So that this would give us, in theory, probably a couple of $100,000 of surplus that would be able to be used, which frankly will already be used in 2015. I think we have already spent about $175,000, so that'll pretty much use that up. You know, it is an obligation that the township has, that to the extent that employees have banked sick and vacation and other time, that upon retirement that we have to compensate them according to the formulas in the contractual formulas that exist. And so
Thank you, Mr. Gross.
so if I could, a little more than $800,000 last year for how many retirements?
Oh, you know what, Councilman, I sent that to you at the last meeting. I
Okay.
didn't bring it tonight. I'll go back and look it up on it.
No,
bring
you
my
don't, if
computer
you
out.
send it to me, okay.
Okay.
I know you just sort of did a rough
An average.
division, yeah,
Yeah.
like $30,000 per employee, so
Approximately.
if that's true, if it's like 35,000 per, then that means something on the order of 20 to 25 people retired last year, on average?
I think we may have been, may actually have been more than that. Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll check that, and I'm sorry, I did skip my mind. And then, so far this year, we've incurred about $175,000 for how many?
Right.
How many?
I did not bring that tonight. Again, I can get that for you. Keep in mind, that's an average. I mean, like, for instance,
Right.
we may have employees that get,
A lot more.
$1,500 or $3,000 or $4,000.
Right.
And we have employees, in theory, we have employees with significant six-figure obligations that we have. So, the average is just that, it's an average. And So it may be employees that are retiring, quote unquote, maybe they may not be going into the retirement system per se, they're retiring from here, have the age of retirement and have vacation time, 4 or 5 weeks of vacation time that they've never taken. That has to be paid, that comes out of here too. So it's not all big dollars. So the averages are just that. They're not really indicative necessarily. I could have had, quite frankly, we had 3 people this year so far. And we've also had money from previous year. For instance, there were employees who retired last year who deferred some of the retirement pay to this year, so which is to our advantage as well. So those are the kind of
Thank you.
metrics that go into this.
Wasn't that something new that we actually could do that it didn't have to be paid out?
Well, it's not our option, it's their option. I mean, employees decide that they don't want to get paid in a particular year, all in the same year. They can ask us and we comply. We have the ability to finance it over 5 years, but that's our only option. We have to, if the employee
wants.
wants.
Fairly new, is that what was new?
3 or 4 or 5 years ago, maybe.
Thank you, Mr. Gross. Madam Clerk?
Okay, is there a motion to adopt ordinance 2441-15?
Second?
Councilman Cirillo?
Yes.
Councilman Krokoviac?
Yes.
Councilwoman Spango, let the record show she's voting yes. Councilwoman McCartney?
Yes.
Council President Garino.
Yes.
Ordinance 2442-15, an ordinance amending the revised general ordinances of the Township of West Orange, Chapter 23, Section 1, establishing fees and rates at Ginny Dunkel Pool for the 2015 season. Is there a motion to introduce on second and final reading?
Second?
Councilman Cirillo?
Yes.
Councilman Krokoviac?
Yes.
Councilwoman Spango?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCartney?
Yes.
Council President Garino.
Yes. Is there anyone in the general public wishing to be heard on ordinance 2442-15 concerning Ginny Dunkel Pool fees? Seeing none, I close public comment. Any of my colleagues would like to comment on this ordinance?
We discussed it at the last
Right.
meeting. The only change is the cost of swim lessons has gone from $80 to $100 for non-members
Members.
as an
I said
incentive.
non-residents by mistake, I meant non-members.
Okay.
Is the
Madam Clerk?
Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 2442-15?
So moved.
Second?
Councilman
Yes.
Cirillo. Councilman Krokoviac?
Yes.
Councilwoman Spango?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCartney?
Yes.
Council President Garino.
Yes.
Okay. Ordinance 2443-15, an ordinance amending an ordinance creating a reclassification and salary schedule of certain Township of West Orange employees, setting forth their titles, classifications, and salary ranges, and adopting a salary guide and establishing the employee's status as a Township employee under the guidelines of the New Jersey Department of Personnel, plumbing subcode official. Is there a motion to introduce on second and final reading?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Cirillo?
Yes.
Councilman Krokoviac?
Yes.
Councilwoman Spango?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCartney?
Yes.
Council President Garino.
Yes. Is there anyone from the general public wishing to be heard on ordinance 2443-15? Last chance. Seeing none, I close public comment. Any one of my colleagues would like to comment on this ordinance 2443-15? Councilman Krokoviac?
Yes, thank you. This is being proposed as part of, and correct me whenever as soon as I start veering off the path.
I'll just ask you, I'll interrupt for just a second, Council. If you're going to go into.
That was quick.
Yeah, if you're going to go to the extent that this is initiated because of a particular personnel situation that has occurred here at the Township, we will not be in a position to discuss any of the particulars of that personnel
said that in your-
situation.
You said that.
That in
So-
your answer.
So I just wanted
That was
to
already-
clarify right from the beginning of that, and then hopefully any questions can be around that, so.
Right, and I certainly wouldn't want to violate any privacy concerns.
Right.
I just was trying to explain to people who might think, hey, this is a great thing, we're actually reducing the cost of personnel, to explain to them that that's not the intent. It's actually, I think, a ramification of a discipline action.
Well, this will reduce for a period of time, at least a period of time, the cost for providing these services. And where that goes from there, we really are not prepared to say.
Okay.
So it will, for a period of time, save the township money. Should you not adopt this tonight, it will cost the township more money. So,
Good point.
So what we are doing now is we're going to reduce the compensation that we provide
the minimum compensation.
to I don't know.
To
what a
whomever
temporary
is going to be
word.
providing these services, the administration will be able to employ an individual to provide these services at a cost less than before you take the vote.
Okay, for some undetermined period of time.
For whatever period of time that occurs.
Okay, so could it possibly be that we save
We may never come back.
$20,000?
We may, well, over what period of time? You're talking about a $2,000, basically almost, not even a $2,000 reduction, but, so, over 10 years, I guess, in theory, but I would say no.
Okay.
I would say no.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there a motion to adopt 2443-15?
So, second.
Councilman Cirillo?
Yes.
Councilman Kukoviac?
Yes.
Councilwoman Spango?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCartney?
Yes.
Council President Garino.
Yes.
Ordinances on first reading, 2444-15, an ordinance amending Chapter 25, Sections 51.16 of the revised general ordinances of the Township of West Orange. This is a revision to the zoning ordinance. Is there a motion to introduce on first reading?
So
Second.
Councilman Cirillo?
Yes.
Councilman Kukoviac?
Yes.
Councilwoman Spango?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCartney?
yes,
Council President Garino.
Yes.
we could just talk about it for a minute. Just, this planning board recommendation to the council about revising the zoning ordinance. The the planning board cannot condition an applicant to, thank you. Planning board doesn't condition an applicant to provide green design standards, but we certainly make the recommendations. This is an ordinance that will provide a checklist seeking the applicants to consider, asking the applicants to consider green design standards, and if they choose not to take any of these recommendations into account, to at least explain why it's not feasible, whatever the reason may be. There's a provision in here also for the township, any projects that the township does to do the same thing, but again, there's a checklist. If it's not feasible, if it's not reasonable, then we won't go that route. It's nice that we have Nick Solisi on our environmental commission, because Nick has done quite a bit of work to make our buildings more efficient between the upgrades in energy efficiency in many of our buildings, replacing windows and different municipal audits. So that's a recommendation from the planning board.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
If I could,
Sure,
Council
Council.
President, I do have some questions about this, because the way I read the proposed ordinance, it appears not only it covers the checklist and doesn't necessarily impose any sort of what I would consider a burden on an applicant.
Condition.
But it also requires the township to incorporate some new accounting standards and I just wanted to be sure that I understood whether there is going to be a cost associated with it, both to the township and to applicants to the planning board. And I'm just wondering if we can have somebody here from the planning board, maybe Mr. Solis is the proper person, to talk about what are some of the costs in terms of time.
It wouldn't be Mr. Solis,
or-
but we could have the chairman. I mean, the chairman could be here, or our acting planner, who has helped craft this through other municipalities. But it's not, I'm not really sure how to answer that question, because I would think if the township does choose to go with green design standards, it really would be a long-term investment that they would be making that would definitely be tax savings. That's how I see it, if they choose to do that. And for the funds, again, anything we do is going to have to come back to the council for approval anyway, or even just from an environmentally sensitive point of view. That's how I see it.
At the end of the day, we don't know what this number would be, but obviously, if we're going to do a design, and part of that is to do an evaluation during the process of, what the LEED's requirements would be, there's going to be a cost to that, whatever that may be in terms of the soft cost. But again...
Right, but again, it's a long-term savings, that's the whole idea.
Yeah, well, even to do the analysis. However, I mean, as a matter of public policy, that is the direction that we're doing in terms of reducing the carbon footprint, and there's, it's like transparency. Reducing carbon footprint is expensive, but it is part of the public policy issue. So.
And that's the direction, as a certified municipality, that's the direction we're choosing to go.
And that's why I want to try to examine this, because as you point out, it does require the township to make changes to the way it handles both maintenance and development of new building projects. It requires the township to meet minimum LEED silver rating standards, and I just want to make sure that we explore this so we get a better idea.
Or complete the checklist of reasons why they won't. But we have done major renovations in this building for upgrades, way before this even took place. So,
Well, perhaps I'm misreading the ordinance, but it does say that the township fills out the sustainability checklist, and then it says, the township shall incorporate life cycle and total cost accounting in the design, construction, and maintenance of all township-owned and financed buildings. That doesn't seem to provide any leeway. Township-funded building projects shall meet minimum LEED silver rating, and the first LEED project shall be viewed as a pilot. That doesn't look like we just fill out a sustainability checklist, and if it doesn't work for us, we move on. That looks like it's requiring us to actually change the way that we do business. So I want to explore...
I appreciate what you're saying. I think the point that we're making is that we've already done this. We are already moving in this direction. We are already moving in this direction.
That's fine, but now we're basically turning it into law. So I just want to make sure that we explore this.
Okay.
Who would be the proper person for me to talk to? Maybe I could talk to somebody
Either
between
the
now and
acting
next-
planner or Ben Heller,
Greigel?
or Ben Heller, the chairman of the
Okay.
planning board.
Okay,
They've done the research to compile this.
okay, great, thank you.
Any comments? We have no ABC tonight. Done. Just want to, I'm sorry.
Did we adopt this?
So, I'd like to thank everyone for being here tonight, and on behalf of the town council, I invite members of the community to come to our council meetings, and please take part in the process of government. We look forward to your questions. Please feel to reach out to us via our emails, which is located on the township website. Contacts with questions, that's what we're here for. So ask your questions, please come and ask your questions. And I hope we'll see you on March 10th, which is our next town council meeting. And with that, I want to wish you all a good night, and stay tuned. Thank you.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.